Welcome back to this lesson about adverbs and adjectives. In this second part, we are going to take a look at the difference between adverbs and adjectives. Okay, here we go. Adjectives describe nouns. They give us information about nouns. They answer what kind of questions. Take a look at the first example here. John is a careful driver. Careful describes the noun driver. Careful is the answer to the question, what kind of driver is John? Now take a look at the second example. Alan is a slow reader. Slow tells us something about reader. Slow is the answer to the question, what kind of reader is Alan? And finally, the last example. It was about game. Bad tells us something about game. It is the answer to the question, what kind of game was it? And now we finally get to the adverbs. Adverbs do not describe nouns. They describe verbs. They do not answer what kind of questions. They answer how questions. Take a look at the first example here. John drives carefully. Carefully tells us something about the verb drives. And it is the answer to the question, how does John drive? Now take a look at the second example. Alan reads slowly. Slowly gives information about the question, how does Alan read? And the final example, the team played badly. Badly gives information about the verb played. And it is the answer to the question, how did the team play? And now it's your turn. In one of the two sentences you have to fill in clear, and in the other one you have to fill in clearly. Take a moment to read the sentences and to fill in either the adverb or the adjective. Did you get? The teacher explained it clearly, and it was a clear explanation because then you did fine. And I want you to try again. In one of the sentences you have to fill in easy, and in the other one you have to fill in easily. Think about it. Well, I am quite confident that your answers were these. It's an easy job and you can easily do it. I have just told you that adverbs are used to describe verbs. Now that is still true, but what you have to bear in mind is that adverbs can also be used to describe adjectives, and then they still answer how questions. First example, this isn't extremely difficult, is it? Extremely gives us information about the adjective difficult. Extremely is an adverb. Then the second example, it's really easy, isn't it? Really tells us something about the adjective easy. And it answers the question, how easy is it? Really easy. Really is an adverb. You now know that adverbs can be used to describe verbs. You also know that we use adverbs to describe adjectives. What you also have to know is that we can use adverbs to describe other adverbs. And then they still answer how questions. Now, let's take a look at the first example here. The team played incredibly well. Well is an adverb. It is the answer to a how question. How did the team play? It played well. Incredibly is also an adverb. It is the answer to a how question as well. It is the answer to the question, how well did the team play? Incredibly well. Then a second example. The crowd are cheering really loudly. Loudly is the answer to the question, how are the crowd cheering? And really is the answer to the question, how loudly are the crowd cheering? Really loudly. Time for a summary again. We use adjectives to describe nouns, to give information about nouns. And adjectives answer what kind of questions? Take a look at the example here. John is a careful driver. Careful gives us information about what kind of driver John is. Adverbs, on the other hand, describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs, and they answer how questions. Take a look at the first example. John always drives carefully. Carefully tells us something about the verb drives. It is the answer to a how question. How does John always drive? Carefully. Carefully is an adverb. Second example. This isn't extremely difficult. Extremely tells us something about the adjective difficult. It is the answer to a how question again, the question being, how difficult isn't this? Well, it isn't extremely difficult. Extremely is information about difficult, so it is an adverb. And finally, the team are playing really well. Well is an adverb. It tells us something about the verb playing. How are the team playing? And really is also an adverb, and it tells us something about the other adverb, well. How well are the team playing? Really well. Really is an adverb. You should now be able to do exercise number 2. Stop this video here and do exercise number 2.